Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Vishal Saxena, and I welcome you to Heart, a show which has been created by Zena family, where our main objective is to bring the who's of the industry. Why? Because they are the people who have walked the corporate life, they have walked from corporate to startup life, and they have already seen world in a different way, maybe as a finance, maybe in marketing, maybe as CEO, CFO. This is what our main objective of Heart to Heart chat show is. The main importance here comes in our chat show. We usually do not rush, do not rehearse, do not restrict ourselves by titles, but we go ahead with experiences. We go ahead with wisdom and the truth. So today, in our topic, from corporate life to leadership role in startup, sounds interesting, isn't it? When it sounds interesting, that means the guest of our has to be very, very interesting. And today, our guest is Mr. Bharat Musaddi, the gentleman who was there in the corporate life and he has worked in the corporate life at various levels. Plus, he has also moved on to the startup. That is why from leadership role to startup. So I, on behalf of Zena family, would like to welcome Mr. Bharat. Namaskar, sir, and welcome to the show, sir.
नमस्कार नमस्कार सक्सेना जी.
Sir, it was a pleasure to have you here, a gentleman who has seen all the roles. And as the discussion grows, I'm sure every person who's watching this particular podcast of ours will get interested in how things change from corporate to startup and how things happen. But before I dig deep into this podcast of ours, I would like to ask you to tell our viewers your transition and how you started the day when it was the first day when you entered the corporate world and how you gradually moved on to various levels and your journey that shaped you what you are today. Over to you, Mr. Bhagat.
So just to kind of give you a brief about my background, I'm a chartered
Ji.
accountant and MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and my first job was with the Birla Group. That was in 1986. Uh, exactly, actually, 40 years back. So it's a 40-year-old kind of 40-year long journey. And as I was kind of deputed to a comparatively small company in the Birla Group, which worked well because they were looking to double their overall kind of capacity, and for that substantial funds were required. So I was responsible for raising those funds and working with financial institutions. So pretty early in my career, I had those kind of responsibilities to raise fund and completely handle what we used to call during that time as the modernization project, because expansion was a this was still the license raj. So expansion was a bad word, because if you were to tell expansion, the financial institutions would ask equity, and our promoters, being very conservative, they didn't want to let go of the equity. They wanted pure debt, and so we called it modernization project. So anyway, just to cut the story short, I handled the company size was like 400 crores turnover, and a company of that size, we raised funding of about 400 crores to fund this, what we called as modernization, just to kind of be within the license Raj. Uh, and then successfully implemented this entire modernization project, ran into. So that was almost a first couple of years of my corporate journey. And then from there, I kind of took up roles which is finance controller, um, then general manager finance, and and then ultimately the CFO role. And I would say that while I kind of moved from within the Birla Group, I moved from this plant or this smaller company to the corporate office of the Birlas in Delhi. And as chance would have it, there was a JV which was coming up again because of the license thing. That Birlas had the license for the automotive industry, and General Motors had just come to India. So Birla and General Motors partnered, and we started with our journey of actually a startup. I mean, today's world you can say startup, but that time startup was not the word. We said
Correct.
we are doing a new project, and it was a joint venture. And in fact, I mean, there were only two employees. One was General Motors guy, which was of course a Gora,
That's it.
and and uh, and I was the Indian guy. And I mean, uh, he would be the kind of the boss giving orders, and I would do everything, right from being a secretary to kind of laptops were not there, but desktops were there.
Correct.
So right from making notes and memos to kind of working with financial institution, for which, as I said, I had experience, because raising funds was a very important task. And since it was started as a two-person kind of a journey, my role extended much beyond finance, because finance alone cannot set up a project. So I
Correct.
had doubled up as a finance guy, manufacturing guy, supply chain guy, marketing guy. And I mean, I felt very uncomfortable. And I
That's true.
told this GM guy who was the country manager, and in fact he was much senior to me, double my age, and he had done all these, I mean, he was a multi kind of functional guy. So I said, I'm a finance guy, why are you giving me? So he says, you are getting such a good opportunity, what kind of this thing you are saying, cribbing, I mean, just
Learn.
learn and be grateful that you are getting to do this kind of a project. It's a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity, and since we cannot afford too many people, or it's taking time to hire people, you are doing a role of a manufacturing engineering, supplier development, vendor development, marketing, everything, whatever was required to be done, I was doing. I even made trips to the vendors across India,
Oh my
of course, with
goodness.
some consultants, but so anyway, so that was my first challenging role, which gave me a kind of a taste of the blood, so to say, taste of the startup. But of course, that time, little did I know that, this was in 1991. So little did I know that this would kind of then become a startup. Startup would be part of the kind of ecosystem, and in particularly in India, and I would be associated with this journey. For me, it was just that let this phase get over. Somehow, I got distracted, and this like the train has run off the track. So once the full company gets formed, people come for their various roles, then I'll be in my kind of a comfort zone, which is the finance role. I'll so which also, of course, eventually happened after a couple of years, and I got they made me general manager of finance, and this guy, I mean, very sarcastically said, "Are you now happy? If I were in your place, I wouldn't be happy. I mean, you are moving from a much richer role to a now a very, very restricted
Confined
role,
role. Hmm.
confined role." I said, I'm happy with this role. This is what it was my dream to become a GM, like number two in finance. But anyway, so as I said, and so I was on a, somehow I would say, I mean, I won't take too much of credit for that. This was like almost like an accidental kind of a thing, because this project was
Hmm.
coming. So I was on a high growth accidentally. So out of this, you can say, as I said, this 40 years career, the after the first 10 years, I became the CFO. So, I mean, so the last, and of course, the last 5 years have been largely the startup kind of a journey. So, the corporate journey, 35 years, 10 years was, kind of climbing the ladder, so to say. And the other part of those 25 years was largely as a CFO, CXO role, comparatively smaller organization to a larger organization, to national country level responsibilities, then regional responsibility. As I said, I did a stint in Singapore as Asia Pacific Director of Finance for General Motors, and then its subsidiary Delphi. But of course, family didn't move. I mean, that's a different subject.
Hmm.
But
Education and
so
everything is there.
children education, parents. Also, I was the only child, only son of the parents. So I have a sister who got married, but the parents were very unhappy. So considering everything, I said, I've got a good taste of, just like, I had a taste of this unstructured
Gora.
role. So here also I said I have got a good taste of Asia Pacific, and most of my time was spent in China, because China
Oh,
almost was like 50% of the Asia Pacific role. China was growing very, I mean,
rapidly.
this was around 2000, early 2000s. Rapid growth. So, most of my time was spent there. And that also was not a very, I mean, professionally very enjoyable, but personally not, because China was, unlike today, China was not vegetarian at all.
Correct.
And I had to literally make do with salads and cold drinks, and and of course, then I
Money.
started eating eggs, because otherwise I thought I won't be able to survive. So eggs for breakfast, and maybe at times eggs for even lunch and dinner, whatever. So anyway, so it was not a very this thing, but I wanted to just kind of stay put for a 1 year, because I wanted to take a full exposure of this Asia Pacific role, because I thought this opportunity will never come back in my life once I come back to India. So I came back to India, and did CFO roles with various companies and various groups, and so in a nutshell, I'd say that 50% of the time I worked is with multinationals like General Motors, and later on with Royal Dutch Shell, which is an oil company, which again, there
Hmm.
also, I'll just come to that very briefly. I did a kind of a
Hmm.
startup role. They were just coming to India. They wanted a CFO. In fact, their non-finance functional head roles were all these, again, these, British people and these Dutch people, because the Anglo-Dutch company. But finance, somebody advised them it is better to have Indian, because, I mean, it is largely governed by domestic taxation rules, regulations. If you bring in a Dutch guy or a British guy, he'll be at
You
a
don't
loss.
understand.
So anyway, so so I was there, and there also, absolutely. But it was better than that role where I was the only person doing everything. Here there were other functional heads, but still from finance, built from scratch. I mean, at one point of time, I was the only finance person in the company. So everything, right from spreadsheet to whatever it is required, running around to the government offices, everything was done by me. So I've had a good taste of these, which, in today's world, I can very proudly say, oh, I did startup roles. But that time, of course, these were not considered startup roles, but and a little bit difficult also. I said, यार ये बार-बार है ना मेरे को इस तरह का रोल क्यों मिल रहा है, where I have to, I mean,
What are my karmas?
I mean, I have been designated as, unlike in the GM case, in here in Shell, I was designated as a CFO, as a finance director. But despite that, I mean, I had to do everything, So, so I said, okay, I mean, it's a good learning, kind of keeps me grounded, and, in touch with my Excel, good old Excel spreadsheet. So, I was actually doing Excel spreadsheet for quite a lot of my career, though, I held very, very kind of glorious designations. But
Hmm.
so even so that, when I was really handling 100 people finance team, when somebody bought a kind of a spreadsheet to me, so I said, okay, laptop mere ko do, and
I will check it out.
I'll check it, and and make some few editing also. And the guy was totally like, almost half my age, and I mean, this guy is now crazy guy, I mean, what is he fiddling with my spreadsheet, So anyway, so it was a very kind of a eventful journey, so to say, and I mean, but I would say very exciting journey. Uh,
Yes, sir. Basically, see, people they think corporate means structured and everything happening here. But here
yeah.
you have started where structure is you have made the structure. You have
Yes,
created
yes.
the structure.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is what
In
it is.
GM, we had a 30 people finance department. Each of these 30 people were hired by me. Each of these 30 people. And after that, hiring became a passion with me. And so much so that, during my Mahindra innings also, I used to go to these
Right.
campuses. I
Hmm.
am A, B, C, and I used to say that, to tell HR that you keep these campus interviews and the campus this thing on the weekends. Because I won't be able to take time on the weekdays, on Saturday or Sunday. And I'll personally go and hire not only just finance people, I'll hire non-finance people also, but of course maintained a good rapport with the management and HR people, that they allowed me to hire not only finance people, but I said I've done a lot of non-finance thing also. So I can very well hire marketing and HR people, and also you stay with your family at home, and
I will get it done.
I, I will get the best. Trust me. And
Mhm.
it worked quite fine, well. But it was quite a. So I have a great passion for hiring people and engagement with people. So which I developed during my when I created this entire department of finance. Just by myself.
So basically, people they say in the corporate life they learn two, three great things, but here you have taught people basically many things. But like as you said, Excel, like how I will just work on it. But since from grassroots you have gone into all the departments, I'm
At time there
sure.
was no option because I was the only person. मैं इधर उधर किसको देखूंगा, मतलब मैं ही
Uh,
हूँ खाली और वो अच्छा, मोस्ट ऑफ दिस मल्टीनेशनल्स एंड देन दे हैव अ बिग कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिसेज. इवनिंग में
mhm,
फोन कॉल चालू हो जाएगा कि वी वांट दिस, एंड फिर बाद में रिव्यू करेंगे. और उनको तो नेक्स्ट डे भी चाहिए. उनको बोला आई एम द ओनली पर्सन. ओ भरत, वी नो योर कैपेबिलिटीज, यू विल समहाउ मैनेज इट. Why don't you hire a person quickly? I said, this things take time, and even after the person comes, I'll have to teach them, and I mean,
mhm.
output will come a bit later. And of course, you people cannot wait, so I'll have to kind of, burn the midnight oil and work on the spreadsheet myself rather than anyone else working on it.
So one thing what I can understand is in many of your family functions you will be out of the frame. Since you were
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
reporting and doing everything, if you go back to your memory lane,
Yeah,
flip
yeah,
the
yeah.
albums, सब बोलते मैं
Mhm.
कहाँ था? I was not there. Where was
हाँ.
I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So basically, it is such a like the way you are explaining things and you're telling your memories. I am sure this gives everybody a understanding that whatever role you have studied and you have joined, you never know where you are going to land up and how it is going to shape your future, right, sir?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Very true.
Acha, sir. So now basically when you were into this like time of transitions, right? And understanding things. Normally what happens at that particular time, you had gone and joined a company where you were supposed to give a big brands, they are corporates, and you were supposed to work on a finance. And when it turned out to be a different story altogether, maybe GM or maybe in other companies of yours, how was your internal thing happening? Like external, so yes, what is happening is there. What were internally, what was happening? Ki,
So a
Arey, what
lot
is
of
this?
learning taking place, and it
Hmm.
was very exciting. I mean, so maybe there was a streak of entrepreneurship. Again, this is a kind of a post facto kind of analysis I'm giving it to you. That time I
Hmm.
never thought that I'm doing any entrepreneurship. मेरे को लगा करना पड़ रहा है तो कर रहे
Hmm.
हैं. but uh, but now looks like kind of the learning quotient was very high. Then doing it yourself, unstructured situations, and just thrown into the like into the deep
C to
water
swim.
suddenly,
Hmm.
and asked to swim. So it was very exciting. I mean, I have no kind of this thing that of course the last 10 years in Mahindra, of course that was a very structured thing, because Mahindra large group, a large role. I was a CFO as well as CIO, Chief Information Officer. So finance and IT were two portfolios with me. But IT also went through a major transition during this period, both finance and IT, because of this technology changes and automation and all. So there also it was very exciting. But the departments were large. In fact, so from where I didn't have here, I had two secretaries, two executive assistants. I mean, ऐसा था कि मतलब वो मेरे को हिलने नहीं देते थे अपनी चेयर से. मैं बोलता है मेरे को हिलने तो दो कम से कम.
अब आदत है मेरे को.
let me go there and meet my team members. You'll say, no, 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 we'll get the person there. I bola, I don't want the person to come to my room. I want to just walk down, kind of so that I just do some movement and all. So anyway, so that was a kind of a contrast, but that also was a very enjoyable period because a lot of technology related changes and a lot of growth and expansion was coming during those Mahindra days. So where again it made it very exciting rather than a very kind of a routine role, or so to say. So it was never a routine. It was never kind of. There was never a dull moment, if I were to say.
So anytime it has happened that you're walking through your place or your cabin, and you see somebody stuck somewhere, so you say, "Oh, you get up. I will sort it out for you. Wait."
Okay, in the overall that finance department area.
Uh-huh.
No, I mean, I had kind of come out of it. I mean, initial days, of course, it would happen, and especially when I had seen that company from starting up to whichever level one had brought up to, for example, General Motors, Shell, some other these companies. But in Mahindra, I mean, I had that kind of a thing wouldn't happen. But people were, I mean, it was a complete open door policy. I mean,
Mhm.
I think people never had that kind of open access to the CFO, and at times people would, so office would start at 9. I would
Mhm.
reach office. Though it was Mumbai, I used to stay very close to the office.
Okay.
Again, just as a kind of, just so that, I cut my commuting time. I reached to reach 8:30. People, word spread that I know I reach at 8:30. So when
Mhm.
and on a regular day, I come at 8:30. There were, I mean, there was a kind of a sofa just outside my office. There were 10 people sitting there. मैं बोला क्या हुआ कुछ समथिंग बोला नहीं नहीं यही टाइम आपके साथ में ना थोड़ा डिस्कशन करने का आर डाउट्स आर प्रॉब्लम्स आर इश्यूज so we're just waiting for you to come and then after that of course the day would start and you'll get very very busy and at times they would come not only with their professional problems they would come with their
Yes.
personal problems also so I learnt a little bit of this thing on
Marathi.
counseling all kind of counseling
Okay.
parent counseling marriage counseling they said मतलब कुछ इशू हो गया क्या करें मैं बोला यार ये वो तो ऑफिस के बाहर की चीज है बोले नहीं सर थोड़ा हेल्प कर दो मेरे को यू नो आई एम अंडर लॉट ऑफ स्ट्रेस क्या करना चाहिए तो मैंने मतलब तो again without any kind of prior experience or without any specific intent one got into it and then in a way I started kind of enjoying that part also यदि कोई महीने में एक दो इस तरह का नहीं आएगा इशू तो आई वुड से दैट आजकल इश्यूज कम हो गए
कंपनी
हैं
सही चला नहीं बिकॉज बेसिकली व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड सर कि आपका जो ऑरा है ना दैट गिव्स अ वेरी होमली appearance to everybody because since today I'm meeting you and आपका ऑरा है कि yes a person can chat with you for hours and hours and discuss
yes yes
everything so that
yeah
is
yeah
not wrong something wrong when they should come and talk about speak to you about their personal life also.
पर्सनल लाइफ फैमिली लाइफ वो बोला यार मेरे बेटे की अभी शादी की ही इज हैविंग अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टाइम विथ हिज वाइफ तो मैं बोला उसको बेटे को भेजो उसमें अब तुम क्या कर रहे हो और मेरे को तुम्हारे से बात ही नहीं करनी है तुम अपने बेटे को भेजो वो उससे मैं डिस्कस करता हूँ समझता हूँ कि क्या मतलब no I'm just giving it's a actual this kind of situation has happened and then ऑफिस में कोई लड़की आ गई difficult I mean as you mentioned somewhere that which didn't get captured in LinkedIn post वो बोलते हैं, मेरे को
Mhm.
ना मेरा बॉस हैरेसमेंट करता है
Mhm.
तो यार मैं बोला कि ये तो बड़ा मुश्किल सी कुछ सिचुएशन आ गई तो बोला है उसको ऑफिशियल कंप्लेन कर दो मैं बोल रहा तो बोले सर ऑफिशियल कंप्लेन करोगे तो आपको भी पता है कंपनी के इतने स्ट्रिक्ट रूल है उसका तो जॉब चला जाएगा मैं नहीं चाहती हूँ कि उसका जॉब जाए पर ऐसा भी नहीं है कि बहुत ही इसने बहुत ही ऐसा कोई बहुत गंदा हो कुछ किया बट आई मीन देर इज एन एलिमेंट तो आप उसको थोड़ा बुला के समझा दीजिए आप उसको एक बार बुला के समझाएंगे पर मैं बोला उसको तो पता पड़ जाएगा तुम्हारे साथ और ज्यादा हेरेसमेंट करेगा नहीं बोला ये तो आपके ऊपर है आई ट्रस्ट यू दैट आप ना मेरे को वो किए बिना आप ना उसको थोड़ा सा बुला के समझाइए कि तुम थोड़ा सा डेकोरम में रहो ये सब भी करना पड़ता था सो ऑल काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स यूज्ड टू हैपन
So you never had like you were never a boss for your people. Like you were a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
leader and a very,
And a friend, you can say,
say,
in lot of matters, especially personal
hmm.
matters.
Yes, yes, yes. Because see, as like today when I was looking at your profile and doing the entire question, the entire things have changed for me. The other questions are coming to me rather than the structured question which I thought I will be asking you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like let's say like, since like you were more into counseling, more into things, so I'm sure the staff of yours, the people around you would be thinking कि सर ही रहने चाहिए and then everything is for us is going to be sorted out. Even if marketing person has a problem, they will say, okay, let's go to Mr. Bharat and I will to be getting everything sorted out immediately. With a snap of a finger, everything will be sorted out.
No, but that reminds me that I had told these people very clearly that it has to be very, very confidential.
Correct.
And still words spread, but thankfully, right now, just you mentioned about the marketing, because we had a huge
Mhm.
manufacturing, there were huge plants, huge marketing and sales team. So fortunately, nobody outside of finance, kind of came to me, especially for these personal things. For other functions, it was purely professional, and within the kind of structure and the processes and all. So somehow, because people also don't want to talk too much about, that they approach
Mhm.
the boss for personal things. But within finance, somehow I don't know, because finance was a very well kind of closely knit, organization.
All because of you. I'm
So
100%
so
sure.
somehow it spread within finance only. So I mean that's how maybe more people came. But फाइनेंस से बाहर नहीं तो फिर तो मेरा रोल ही मतलब हो सकता है मेरा वो
Wellness
टाइटल
studio.
है ना सीएफओ से ज्यादा वो सीएचआरओ या ऐसा कुछ वो हो जाता है आई वुड हैव टू टेक अ एचआर रोल व्हिच आई
Hmm.
हेटेड
Everything you have see basically if a person sees okay I'm a finance person but you have done every role like you have done marketing you have done HR you have done finance I'm sure engineering and everything you are going and selling things then for GM Motors so you'll be knowing entire thing of the engineering part also how to make those people understand things
Yeah, initial days, I would say. I mean,
yeah
during the project
so,
stage. But
mhm.
once the company becomes large, these are all huge functions.
So,
So then you have to,
so making a company from one person to such a large company also
yeah, this gives you
basically
a very
understanding.
very deep
Uh-huh.
sense of satisfaction. That,
Yes, sir.
I mean, you've seen this company from a time where, there was just one office, and there was this guy, country manager, who would just give instructions. I mean, of course, I mean, to be fair to him, he also did a lot of work on his, because I mean, he was also a very hands-on person. So, but of course, I mean, his this thing was a lot of things on the leadership and public relations side, and also he hardly had time outside the meetings and all. So the ground level work had to be done by me.
So, sir, you should make a book, Kisse Kahaniyan of my corporate life. People only talk
Hmm.
about corporate life CEOs, five good CEOs and all. You should write this, write a book where you say Kisse Kahaniyan of a corporate life. And I'm
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
Lord, that book will be a bestseller. Because nobody can explain it much better the way you are explaining it, sir. Because everybody is structured. But you are the one person I'm talking to who is very much like understanding and giving things a better look. Structure, no problem. Without structure, also I make it to so that the structure fall in place.
Hmm.
So after the वो चल रहा होगा sir. So why don't you think start writing a book on your
Yeah,
experiences,
अभी
sir?
तो इतना टाइम ही मिला है to sit peacefully and write a book. But yeah, I do think at times, that maybe once I retire, so to say. So once I retire, maybe I'll kind of get
Uh,
down to write a book or something.
Sir, you, as per me, what I've understood till now, you are never going to retire. Something or the other, you will be picking it up and starting it as a startup, now what you call it, and you will be going ahead and making it a multi-millionaire corporate house for
Mm-hmm.
100%. That is my belief, what I think now.
Mm-hmm.
Achha, sir, now tell me
Yeah,
one thing,
thanks.
like,
Thanks for that. Thanks for that
no, sir, it is,
confidence in me.
sir,
It gives
everybody had
me
the
it
confidence
gives me a
into you, sir.
boost. It gives me a boost.
Sir, it is not me. It is everybody had a confidence in you. They were giving you all sort of roles. So you were having that basically thing that everybody had a confidence in you. Okay, giving to you, काम हो जाएगा type.
Mm-hmm.
You had a magic wand to make everything work. That is the best part, sir. When a person sees a boss or a leader. in such a way that they can come and speak, relate across the table. And the way you
Mm.
would be convincing them and consulting them, that is basically brings the entire office into a very harmonious area. The people will not be waiting, like say people 8:30 coming in. Normally people they say, oh, who's going to go office early in the morning? अरे बॉस सुबह 8:30 बजे आ जाता है यार. That is normal people. But for you, people are waiting. That shows how people loved you so much, sir.
Mm.
I am sure,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah,
people have.
now if I look back, some of these things look, as you also mentioned, कि look strange. उस समय तो taken for granted लेते थे and used to be in your like a, kind of a chip on your shoulder कि देखो इतने सारे लोग मेरे लिए wait कर रहे हैं. पर अब लग रहा है कि that itself is very strange, कि लोग अपना
Hmm.
जल्दी से breakfast करके बॉम्बे जैसी city पे मेरा तो just 5 minutes walk from my home was 5 minutes walk from my office. But there would be people who would be commuting also. वो ट्रेन वगैरह लेके या जैसे भी आओ करके आ रहे हैं एंड देन they are kind of sitting there and kind of for time with me. So I mean, now it looks very, very, very blissful and very, I mean, I feel very blessed.
Yes, sir. Because see, sir, today in this now when you're looking back, for you, mindset never bothered, what I understand. Like normally corporate people from one role to other role, they have a mindset issue. Okay, yeah, we are working here, suddenly new role, and now suppose you want to do a startup, entire mindset has to turn around. But for you, it was there from the beginning. Maybe like the seed was sowed long back, and now it has fruitified into a big tree for which people are reaping the fruits. What do you say about it?
Yeah, as I said, personally, it gives me a deep sense of satisfaction and also a gratefulness and feeling blessed that, I mean, the kind of, I got this opportunity and the people gave me this kind of opportunity to kind of do these things which were completely outside of my role.
Okay, sir. Now, suppose like now when the people, now startups are coming up, where you have, in that time, there was nothing called startup. It was just said company is there, you have to build it. So
Mhm.
what would you like to tell the upcoming people who are in corporate world, how to go about things? Suppose the people who are going up the ladder, right, sir? And when they are climbing up the ladder, there are certain times they have to understand also. Because today world people in the corporate, they say, oh, we are burnt out and everything, but you are more than that. What will you like to tell them, sir? You don't, how will you, suppose you are now going to guide them, suppose as a mentor, how will you guide them, sir?
People, I would largely tell people that, those who are on the corporate job or corporate sector, and, as I would call it, they are on the corporate ladder. So everyone who's in the corporate sector is on a corporate ladder. So corporate
Mm-hmm.
ladder, which means there's no sideways step. You can't step aside. You can't move sideways, and you can't stop also. If you stop, you'll get thrown out. So you have to.
Correct.
There's no way but onwards, and you just keep on climbing the ladder. Some climb it a bit slowly. Some climb it a bit fast. But you are part of the ladder. So I said, you keep climbing the ladder and do it at your own pace. Don't be in too much of a hurry so as to compromise your health and your mental peace and physical health and all that, and do it and times some people may take much more in their stride, some people take a little lesser. Keep doing that, and I would say that unless there is a very strong reason driven by a passion or a kind of a purpose, don't get off the ladder. Means I mean just because you are dissatisfied, because dissatisfaction bhi rahega, because you see somebody else moving faster. He's moving it because of maybe circumstances, his own skills, his own mindset, whatever, and you feel dissatisfied. At times, you may not have a good boss. Various things, your company is not doing well for the reasons which is outside your control, and of course, company's control, because the environment is such. अभी जैसे ट्रम्प ने ड्यूटी लगा दी है 50%, and some people are saying that there's next will be 500%. I don't know whether you read
हाँ
that or
कल
not.
परसों से न्यूज में आ रहा है इट इज बीइंग
Yeah,
देयर इन द न्यूज
yeah,
आल्सो.
crazy kind of things. So I know. I mean, like my traditional place, Jaipur. I mean, it's known for the apparel industry, and a lot of exports happen to various countries, including US. So the companies which were hugely reliant on exports to the US particularly in the apparel industry and other kind of handicrafts and jewelry and other such thing. They have almost
Hmm.
shut down, and they're in, they're whether it's their owners or whether their employees and all, are huge distress. So what I'm saying is those dissatisfaction would be there. So until there is a compelling reason, and the compelling reason has to be something which should kind of, I mean, be guided by some kind of a passion or a purpose, or you think that there's a particular problem which you have identified which others may not have, and you have a kind of idea about the solution also, so you want to pursue that as a solution which can kind of be a beginning to the startup and then take the startup forward, and you have a passion for it. Don't just go into the startup just because you are dissatisfied from the corporate journey, and you, or maybe it is the kind of fashion of the day that, okay, since everyone and the people in startups are doing so well, you are just earning in some few lakhs, or maybe at best a crore or a few crores, and there people are earning in millions and billions. As I said, that the Porter CEO, I mean, he would be worth more than 500 crores or maybe even 1,000 crores. His net worth, because the company itself is about 10,000 crores. So I mean, so the numbers are mind boggling over there. So just don't get fascinated by that, and leave your well kind of earned and well secured corporate journey for anything which is completely outside of your purview, just because you see other, lot happening around. It has to be coming from within, and something which you are very, I mean, you find a very strong purpose and a very strong reason, an internal motivation to kind of step out and do something which is not driven anything by your kind of either the glamour of the outside world, or deep dissatisfaction from your current corporate role.
So basically, you should not fix to your loss of identity should not be a case when you want to go into a corporate or you have to climb the ladder of your success. In
Hmm.
other words, we can say so. So I would also like the viewers to understand the porter, as we have spoken just few minutes back about the porter. Like how was the porter happened? Because porter now, if you see India, it has taken everybody for a storm. Everywhere you see porter, that blue background with a white porter written on it. Tell us something about the porter, sir.
So, Mahindra, somewhere around, say, I would say 2015, 16, Mahindra somewhere realized, because this startup ecosystem was booming and moving at a very rapid pace, particularly in the areas of mobility and logistics and all. And so that, it has kind of been a bit late to this journey. And
Hmm.
so a lot of areas were already, the too lot of players, for example, people mobility, so many players and so much of competition, and people have made their marks, with like Uber, Ola, and I mean, the likes of them. I mean, that time there was no Rapido, not, but at least these two three players were doing well. So we identified, that goods is a very good area, as a, we can create a kind of a Uber of goods, and for largely intra-city movements, which is again the model of Uber and Ola. And we started a company on a very, very small scale, and the idea was to have it as an independent company. And we had a employee from within, whom we designated as a CEO. So of course, now the CEO is there, and somebody has to kind of handhold and work with this. And they somehow, the MD of the company, means of Mahindra, he knew my
Hmm.
past background about doing such kind of dirty things.
Knowledgeable
So
thing, sir.
so he said, Bharat, why don't you just look over her shoulders? In fact, she was a lady, so look over her shoulders and try and guide this. Become a mentor, and of course,
Hmm.
I mean, this is your night job.
Correct.
So your day job is your CFO, your evening job
Hmm.
is your CIO, and this is your
Hmm.
night job. As you mentioned, also,
Hmm.
know that I mean, I would be hardly seen in any family functions.
Correct, sir.
So ये मतलब somehow कर लो, एंड शी इज अ प्रीटी इंडिपेंडेंट पर्सन, एंड बहुत ज्यादा बॉदर नहीं करेगी. But फिर भी,
Hmm.
I said, issues होते ही रहते थे. So we started with a very, very small, almost like a 1 crore capital. And of course, that was quickly spent and we ran out of money completely. And, all kind of situations happened. And, but we kind of grew and then we merged. So that time our company name was Smart Shift, and we had a headlong kind of a competitor, which is what's called Porter. It was slightly ahead of us, which was kind of handled by IIT graduates, So, and both of us were bleeding because we were undercutting each other, giving
Hmm.
discounts to the customers and also incentives to the load carrier. So, with the net result, the company itself, I mean, we were bleeding and losing money. Then, both the other company person and we thought that it is best to kind of collaborate rather than just burn money, and these people are taking advantage, our customers are taking advantage, and also our these suppliers, so to say, the people carriers or the goods carriers. So we decided to collaborate and ultimately merge the two companies, called it Porter. And after that, and of course, in the merged company, Mahindra initially had a majority stake, but and then as company grew, we kind of diluted. I mean, that was the idea, that we will have a stake, but it will not be a Mahindra controlled company. It will be a like a truly a startup kind of a journey. And from that journey, from one city, started with Mumbai, several cities, South India, North India, means largely initially A grade cities or A class cities, and then B and then C. And, and now I've been away from that kind of a setup for almost 4 5 years. But the company just, I mean, the growth and everything exploded like anything.
Yes, yes, yes. You can see anywhere,
And
everywhere
today,
Porter.
it has become like a household name,
Hmm.
It is almost, has got the same brand recognition as, I would say, Uber, even better than Ola, because Ola has got some deficiencies, but almost the
Hmm.
same brand identification, I would say, as Uber, which is quite a remarkable feat, I would say. So coming from where it started and where it is today, it gives a very deep sense of satisfaction to
Hmm.
be part of the early stage of this entire journey, going through the entire thing, and where at times we were absolutely gasping for breath, so to say, and then collaborating with your biggest competitor. It is like, almost like if, say, Uber and Ola decided to merge, and
Correct.
then rather than giving a discount to the customers or extra wages to the drivers, they would say that we'll merge and create a monopoly. I mean, it was not exactly a monopoly, so the government didn't come in and this was too early. I mean, we were comparatively, both of us were very small, so it didn't come in under
Did
the
not.
MRTP or such such kind of a thing. But still, so from that stage to where it is today, where it is a formidable name, everyone knows it. And of course, in terms of the wealth creation, also it has created enormous wealth for its employees and various stakeholders. And it's as a, as I say, it's a unicorn. So it gives a tremendous feeling of pride and satisfaction.
So, like normally when people they start up something, they normally feel bit back-footed when they are into a space of not getting the success. And they think how, as you said in your previous statements, that okay, do not worry about the failure because that is a part of it. If somebody is growing, let them grow. You will also have your time. That is a clear
Hmm.
example what you did the JV with Porter and Smith and with your
Hmm.
company in Mahindra, right, sir?
Yes, yes.
So you should understand your competitor and just be friend with the competitor rather than taking them as your
Yeah, this was
competitor.
one of the unique things, I would say, that because normally, I mean, I
Hmm.
also do a lot of advisory and mentorship with a lot of startups. And,
Hmm.
and very rarely I would advise that, you kind of become friend with your competitors, because the competitor also would wonder and the startup founder will wonder, ye kya advice de raha hai? But of
Hmm.
course, that required the large-heartedness of Mahindra also, and of the other side, the promoters which were there, which IIT graduates, young people, and
Hmm.
and we kind of gave them enough comfort that they won't get drowned in the, I mean, they'll have a opportunity for a bigger wealth creation rather than getting drowned in the system. So those were certain unique things which normally would not happen when, two startup founders are kind of competing in the marketplace. So, I mean, so that was a kind of a unique thing, I would say. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, you find that because of competition, because of you burning money, the burn rate is higher. And then the VCs and PEs don't want to fund you because they say that,
Hmm.
you are burning so far, whatever money we have put in, you have burnt all of it. And we don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And, I mean, the founder is very exasperated, and that's where people like us we come in, and we kind of give them a comfort that you know this too will shall pass, means
Hmm.
you will come out of it, and I mean, do certain things, some tightening of the belt, some strategic things, tactical things, various kind of things you do. And slowly we have seen companies coming out of it and, creating a valuation for themselves, creating a wealth for themselves. So all that is, I mean, gives a tremendous feeling of satisfaction. But at the same time, I mean, I don't want to the viewers and the listeners to think that it's all a kind of a rosy journey out there. I mean, there are a lot
Hmm.
of failures, and even for the successes. For example, this Porter is today a big success. There were times of good, reasonable amount of failure, and we thought that maximum, I mean, we may not last for more than a couple of months now because we have burnt so much of money. Now the Mahindra board is asking ki, bhai, I mean, इसी तरह से बंद करते रहोगे, we don't see any kind of a future or future out of it from it, and viability itself is under question mark. So, and similarly for smaller startups also, which are not backed by big corporates, these kind of things are there where the founder gets very exasperated. And we look to, I mean, say that, okay, failure is part of it. You fail fast, you pivot, I mean, you cannot, if in the beginning of the year you thought you'll do such things, and then suddenly you found that you run out of funds, you just cannot keep on that particular track. You have to maybe pivot and change your business case, business model, do other things, can at times completely turn it on its head, and do a different way of doing things, do a different thing. And I mean, people who have kind of been resilient and smart enough to do it, they have kind of kind of achieved success out of failure also. But there have been cases where people have failed, shut down the shut their kind of shutters, and gone back. Some of them actually have gone back to the corporate life. Some people are then doing, they couldn't go back to the corporate life, doing some consulting work or some, I mean, using whatever skills they have to provide, services or some kind of so that's why I'm saying that I'm not dissuading people to come to the startup journey, but I say that if you have that kind of a passion, then the likelihood of you succeeding becomes very high compared to a situation where I mean, because whatever, maybe while you are working, you prepared a
Hmm.
very good business case, a very good business model, but there is only 1 or 2% chance that you will go with that couple of years down the line. Once you start, I mean, everything will, I mean, there will be so many black swan events, there'll be so many kind of things will happen that you will keep on pivoting, and after a couple of years you will find that if you just take out that thing of 2 years back, बोलेगा ये क्या बच्चे जैसी बातें थी, I mean, that was very theoretical, which I had prepared on Excel spreadsheet. Now, I
Hmm.
mean, but of course, if things are looking better, I mean, you will smile with it. But at times you may not smile with it because the funding has dried up,
Exhausted.
and though you now know that what is the right path of doing it, you don't have the access to funding because whatever funding you have drawn, you have kind of exhausted it. The VCs and Ps are saying ki, no no no, we don't want to, we have had enough with you, we don't now believe in you, you better kind of sell your assets and pay us proportionally. We have already burnt our fingers, we don't want to now burn our hand. So all these things happen. But there is another thing which I think we have time. So,
Yeah, we have
yeah,
time, so no worries, sir.
but time has passed more than I thought, because as I said, I've been telling you various kind of stories which are unscripted, so to say.
But unscripted, but sir, these are basically motivational stories for everyone, sir. For us also, sir. Tell me, sir.
So anyway, so there the thing is that of late, I have I'm saying that mentoring तो सभी कर लेते हैं,
बिल्कुल.
सभी तो नहीं, मतलब काफी लोग कर लेते हैं और करते हैं. So what we will do is mentoring with funding. So where I also believe very passionately into the founder and his idea and his project, and we have kind of done various things. Things have not exactly gone as per the plan, which it is not expected. It will not
Mhm.
never go as per the plan. But somehow the funding has got dried up earlier than expected. अब उसको जैसे वो प्री सीरीज ए, आई मीन दीज आर सम टेक्निकल वर्ड्स इन स्टार्टअप काइंड ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट. तो उसको प्री सीरीज ए में तो फिर भी थोड़े स्ट्रक्चर्ड वाले दिस पीसीज एंड पीज एंड वीसीज एंड ऑल यू विल फाइंड. बट तब तक के लिए भी उसके पास में फंड नहीं है. So we will, kind of a group of people like me, we will kind of, together maybe contribute 10 lakhs each, say four of us or five of us, say about 50 lakhs, and kind of provide that as a bridge funding. But like, it's not a bridge funding means which in corporate world, bridge funding normally means which is then returnable. Here, of course, there's no scope to return because the money gets dried up. So which is then in form of some equity. So we become then part of the startup, and and of course then we have a real skin in the game. So in fact फिर और हम भी फिर पूरे पैशन के साथ लगे रहते हैं, वो भी लगा रहता है. And then we kind of do that kind of a distance, and ultimately then get pre-series A, series A, and and eventually the startup sees the light of the day. Light of the day means, I technically call it light of the day is when you reach up to a series A at least, because उसके बाद में series A means you have kind of your business model is proven, your case is proven. उसके बाद में it is, how you implement and do various things in the right manner. But before that,
Correct.
it is all like, kind of taking a somersault, taking a double somersault. I mean, doing unexpected things.
Correct.
I mean, the point I'm making is at times, the proof of the pudding, as they say, is lies in its eating. You give a lot of
Correct.
advice, mentoring, ये कर लो वो कर लो, कोई फंडिंग करने को तैयार नहीं है. वो बेचारा रो रहा है, लिटरली रो रहा है कि मेरे को ये एडवाइस तो इतनी दे रहा है और
फंडिंग नहीं है.
फंडिंग आ नहीं रही है. मेरे को तो यहाँ पे तो आई मीन सैलरीज देने के पैसे भी नहीं है, एंड आई एम शटिंग डाउन द शॉप, एंड दिस बगर कीप्स ऑन गिविंग मी एडवाइस. So we said, okay, proof of the pudding is eating. We will ourselves put about, I mean, I just put 50 lakhs as a kind of a number, but it can be 50 lakhs, 1 crore, 30 lakhs, whatever, we kind of prepare the thing. And then, of course, since our skin is in the game, that the time when the real game starts, we make sure that every lakh is spent, very
Yeah.
judiciously and carefully, and all pivoting and all is done well, and the startup survives those that crucial
Crucial
phase.
time. Hmm.
So it is like having a heart attack and surviving that golden hour, as they say,
Mhm.
and getting to the ICU or getting to the OT table for
Mhm.
bypass or surgery. Before that, you are there, and then all that happens, and then you kind of you kind of
You revive.
you revive, so really reviving the startup, so that's our current game, kind of a game which personally I am doing, and that has its own level of satisfaction. It has its own challenges as well, पर वो कई बार तो it becomes a bit very nervy, but I mean, one has
It's part
developed
now.
that kind of a muscle, as I said, for what good is 40 years of working life, as I said, yeah, I passed out in 86. So by that time I had done my CA. So CA में 3 years उस time में articleship होती थी. So that was
Correct.
already done. So if I calculate that those 3 years also, then it is 43. So technically, it is because those 3 years were full office life, with all the
Correct.
office
Working
politics
for
and
3 years.
everything. Because I was the junior most person, and वहाँ पे तो और भी ज़्यादा रगड़ाई होती थी. In fact, maybe a lot
Hmm.
of the रगड़ाई which I'm just realizing, which I did in the later part, as I told you earlier, was because maybe this 3 years I spent in CA with firms where I was the almost like
Junior
a
most.
junior most. In fact, at that time, I think after that somebody objected and they changed. We were called clerks, articled clerks. I don't know
Yes,
whether
yes, yes.
you
That was a designation article clerks required for a
article.
chartered accountant.
We were officially given a letter, article clerk, and the CA used to say very proudly that we have taken you as an article clerk. And I tell somebody who is not that much familiar with the CA environment, "Yeah, I'm an article clerk." So like, you have become a clerk. I thought you were a
पढ़ाई क्यों कर रहा
topper.
है?
You were a topper of your school and college and all, and now you have become a clerk. And well,
Hmm.
this is what the Indian system says. But anyway,
Hmm.
so I'm saying with 43 years of experience behind, you develop muscles and you keep on doing new things to kind of, keep the adrenaline going. And, so that is how how life is kind of,
So
turned out
basically,
to be.
more or less emotional intelligence and leadership intelligence, everything you were holding all the portfolios and taking the thing further ahead, right, sir?
Yes, yes. And sorry, I'm kind of deviating from the script,
No, no, no,
but
no, no,
I
sir. No
thought,
problem, sir. It is
I
all
thought
good,
that
sir.
this is more exciting than,
That is,
uh,
huh, that is
than
very
the.
important for us, for everybody to
Mhm.
understand things. Because see, sir, everybody goes, they say, okay, my life is this. They do not want to open up or give knowledge. Because for you now,
Mhm.
what you're imparting is knowledge, which has become into a wisdom now.
Mhm.
So things are, so person who listens to it also, he will think, okay, yes, there are people who are now sitting comfortably in a place, but they have also seen the life in various phases, as well as the phases, plus they know how to, from zero, how to take things further ahead and make it a brand altogether, like Porter, GM, everything you have been doing it. So like,
Mhm.
yes, you're very much into, like emotionally, you must make people strong, I would say,
Yes,
because that,
and make them succeed. Our ultimate objective
yes.
is, I mean, you may
Mhm.
think that okay, this is this one other startup because you already have so many things under your belt. But for the poor founder, that's his life,
Hmm.
his bread and butter, his life, his entire. At times they put their entire life's earnings at stake, life's earning, their own
Correct.
life itself, their career at
Correct.
stake. So for them, it's so making them succeed, and I mean that again gives a very deep sense of satisfaction. And there are some startups which I say, I'm not in touch with because now they are on their own, say, and I was with them for a couple of years holding their hand, and now so they call me, on say New Year or a Diwali and all, we remember the time because it's been almost 3 years, but still they remember and they say that we have a founders day today. Why don't you come down to Pune or Maharashtra or Bangalore or somewhere and grace our kind of the founders day and all. So it gives a I mean very good feeling that they
Feeling said,
still,
yeah, in
yeah, they still
satisfaction.
remember you, they still, because they have grown now big, and when they were very small, they I mean they were struggling for every lakh of rupees, and you
Mm-hmm.
worked almost like shoulder to shoulder and holding their hands. So all these things, it is these small things which give you the satisfaction rather than, I would say, any big kind of some big thing you have done or something. So this Mahindra role which I had, which of course is the kind of a big thing against my name, compared to
Correct,
that,
sir.
all these smaller things which, sometime, I mean, suddenly I would get a call and they would say, "Oh, sir, we remember you on this particular occasion. You provided us that funding, critical funding of 20 lakhs." So, that those things give us or gives me a great deal of satisfaction.
Wow, sir. So one more thing, sir, I'd like to ask, like, suppose, like, what are the things which a person should unlearn when they're starting a startup? Because when you start a startup, you have a lot of projects you have made. You're all on paper, everything looks very beautiful, rosy and everything. And we do not
Mhm.
think about the pitfall which we are going to face. So what are the things
Mhm.
which they should unlearn to start a startup?
So one is of course the structure, because there won't be any structure, the corporate structure which you have got used to. There are the
Correct.
various department structure, the processes. As I said, the
Hmm.
ladder, first you have to come down the ladder. That itself is a very tough
Very
task,
important. Hmm.
and so learn whatever is I mean, then you start a job in a large corporate like Mahindra. You first of all see, okay, these are the things to be done, and you are also taught how to delegate. यहाँ पे तो कोई
Correct.
डेलीगेट करने वाला है ही नहीं, because you are the only
Hmm.
person, as I said, I
Hmm.
mean, at times, after having done, handle a department of 50, 60 people, I would suddenly become a one-person department, because Shell has
Correct.
hired me as a CFO, and I say I want to delegate, किसी को बुला के देते हैं, तो कोई है ही नहीं,
तो है नहीं। फोटो का भी खुद
डेलीगेट
करो।
कोई, हाँ, तो वैसे स्टार्टअप में वो चीजें, आया, फॉर्चुनेटली और अनफॉर्चुनेटली, I had that kind of experience, but a lot of people would not have, so they will have to unlearn that, यहाँ पे तो कोई delegate, so completely unlearn the art of delegation, as they say. In management they teach you art of delegation, art of leadership. यहाँ पे leadership किसके ऊपर करोगे आप? Self
खुद ही हो।
leadership है.
हम्म।
This entire thing is about self leadership and self learning. I mean,
हम्म।
people will come later, and then be a people person. So, less about processes, more about people, the empathy you have with the people, with the ecosystem around you, with every person, I mean, it is a very, very different feeling, and it makes you a very different human being ultimately,
करेक्ट
uh,
करेक्ट
which
करेक्ट।
uh, which I thought that I'm a very, very people person, throughout my corporate life, including Mahindras and all, as I said. But once I came down, and where, of course there's no help, and I mean, you are doing everything on your own. I mean, then I've realized over the last 3, 4 years that, I mean, I become much more. I mean, that level of empathy has gone up significantly, and that people thing is, uh, I mean, being kind of compassionate about people, somebody who may not even, I mean, in a startup maybe you're sitting at least over 10 lakh or 20 lakh kind of assets, if not cash,
हम्म।
but there may be a startup guy who's saying that, he's on just 50,000 rupees. He's looking to get maybe 1 lakh funding. For him is like a gold mine, because he's
यस।
a much smaller guy. But you have to deal with him, you have to empathize with him, work with him, because he's an important collaborator or a supplier or a customer or a dealer, or so what I'm saying is, yeah, that empathy level, it's a totally on a different plane compared to a corporate life,
करेक्ट। Yes,
so
basically that is how you develop, and then like people they remember you after they're becoming huge, large organizations. That's the reason they remember because you have been holding their hands at difficult time. That
yes,
is
yes.
what this. That is very important, sir.
Yeah, and
Sir,
having a
now.
feeling, that kind of a
Mhm.
feeling of compassion, holding
Correct,
their
sir.
hand in a difficult time and having that compassion, that so they feel that, I mean, this person who almost got into our shoes and felt with us, the pain they went through, even to raise some small amount of fund, they had to almost prostrate in front of, for example, a bank, a public
Hmm.
sector bank, because the public sector bank is giving, say, 2% lesser interest. So I would say, no, no. I mean, even if you have to prostrate, you go and take loan from that public sector bank only. Firstly, they'll charge 2% lesser. Secondly, they will not demand the loan back, which a private bank would do. I mean, they would be much more compassionate for various reasons, much more slower, which benefits you. So, but हाँ, अभी prostrate करना पड़ेगा तो करो, मैं भी
Correct.
चलो, यदि दिक्कत आती है तो मैं भी चलता हूँ, हम लोग दोनों ही prostrate करेंगे.
That is one of the big support, some moral support, and support is there along with them, sir. कि
हाँ,
उनको
अभी
लगता
एक
है।
स्टार्टअप है वहाँ चंडीगढ़ में, अमृतसर में. सो ये साइड, मेरे को लोन नहीं मिल रहा है, तो मैं बोला मैं आता हूँ, मैं वहाँ पे, एंड हम लोग साथ में जाएंगे, एंड विल डू वट एवर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू काइंड ऑफ get that loan from the bank,
Right.
so that you survive and you kind of thrive, whatever.
Also, one more thing, sir. Like normally people they say transition from their corporate life or whatever job they are doing to doing starting a startup. Is there a time or they can it is just basically inner call and you go ahead with it?
You see, one time which is very obvious is the time when you superannuate. Because when you
Mhm.
superannuate, then, like your second inning starts. There's a
Mhm.
choice that maybe you do. you keep doing a corporate role, maybe in smaller entities who may not be too much fussy about this age of 60. So, which I don't think is a very good option, but some people may still want to do it because of their own requirements and family requirements and all, steady income and all. Then some people want to do consulting, some people would want to do a startup. So, depends on the degree of risk taking, which is a kind
Mhm.
of your mindset, your mental frame. But as I said, all these options you evaluate, but at least for the startup thing, don't do it
Mhm.
just because it's the thing to do. It's the kind of
Correct.
it's flavor of the day. Do it if
Mhm.
you really have that passion, and you can identify a very real problem which a customer wants, it has not been fulfilled, and you have a good solution which you think, I mean, can really satisfy his problem, and which has not been, I mean, done so far, or maybe done in one particular way. You are wanting to do it differently, and you very passionately believe in it. And again, you may think of particular way of doing it. You'll start with it, but 99% of the time, you, ultimately what you will end up doing will be quite different. But the problem will most likely will be the same. And
Mhm.
you are working towards a solution, and you will find that solution which I thought in my mind was not the best. This works out much better. But there will be a kind of a purpose, a passion, and a kind of, so in corporates we call it vision and the mission statement and all. In startups we say it is a kind of a purpose. There's a passion, and it's not kind of it's not just that you want to do a startup, okay, and this logistic industry is doing great. There are so many logistics companies which has done well. You see the way Porter has done. I mean, there is a company in South India whom I know very well, started by an IT professor. I can't say much more because then it will reveal the identity. So he said, I mean, he wants, but he is very passionate about it, and he says that Porter is not the best business model. He thinks his business model is much better. So I can see the passion and the that motivation
His
that
love towards his own this thing.
his own business model which is he has created. He feels that I mean, that's will be the ultimate winner. Right now, of course, he is also kind of during that struggle phase, and I'm kind of mentoring him, I'm supporting him in whatever ways, and we have been able to raise funding from time to time to keep him going.
Floating.
And so that is how things are.
Sir, it is such a pleasure to understand how things have to be worked out, like from corporate life to startup and startup to holding hands, which rarely people they say, but they don't do it. But you have
And
done
giving
it.
funding also, putting
Yes,
your
own funding,
literally
own
your
funding.
own funding, putting your literally your skin in the game, literally
Yes,
cutting
yes,
your
yes, yes.
skin and putting it in the on the
Uh,
fire.
Basically,
Because once
Bolna
that
is
amount is gone, it is
is
gone. In
gone.
like,
Hmm.
suppose if that turns out to be a failure, and I put say 50 lakhs in it, that's gone. Like, so of course it's a calculated risk, but that also gives its own kick and the pleasure,
Chance.
so to say.
Basically, this is something which like normal people can guide you, mentor you, but putting their own skin into that entire business is something people
No,
don't do it
it's not
usually.
that, I just hope that, I'm hearing my this thing. I don't have the startups being lined up, that यहाँ पे मेरे को मिल जाएगा. So I don't invest in everything. I would do my own due diligence and very deep homework, and only
Hmm.
do, when you take that kind of risk, you want
All
decent
things to be in
returns
place.
and, decent growth also. So that was in a lighter vein. But anyway, so what I'm saying is, but ultimately, if you really believe in it, it is not just you say, "Oh, I'm your mentor. I'm your mentor."
Hmm.
The proof of the pudding in the eating. You better eat that pudding also,
Correct.
for whatever it is worth.
Hmm. Acha, sir. Now, see, it's like many more questions also, but yes, the time is also there. I would like to ask you some rapid fire, which is our way of looking at things. So, I will be having a series of around 7 questions, one word of the answer. Are you ready for it, sir?
Yes,
Yes, sir. One word that best describes corporate life.
corporate ladder,
Okay. One word that best describes startup leadership.
risk taking and pivoting. So when you take the risk, and then
Hmm.
you have to pivot, because I mean there will be a very rare occasion that you it's like a hole in one, where you'll have a
Hmm.
hole in one. I mean that's like a
Hmm.
rarity.
A skill corporate life taught you well, but startups tested deeply.
Resilience.
Okay.
Corporates also, you go through ups and downs and all. And if you don't, I mean, the people who go through the distance, the entire distance, as I said, 40 years, I mean,
Hmm.
the resilience level keeps on improving. And if you don't have the resilience, people kind of quit in the middle and then they start their own consulting or do something else. And corporate, the startup takes you much deeper. That resilience is many, many times more in a startup than in a corporate.
Acha, a habit that you had to unlearn when you entered the startup world.
Yeah, one thing is about delegation. In Mahindra, I would delegate
Ah.
everything because I had a team of 200 people under me. But here, I mean, there's no so you have to unlearn. Okay, there's no delegation.
Decision making in a startup feels more like an instinct or an analysis.
I would, this I would give a slightly what you call contrarian answer analysis, because people who just go by instinct, I think they fail more than the people who do a little bit of analysis. But analysis has to be fast. You cannot open a spreadsheet and work on a kind of
Mm.
spreadsheet for 7 days.
Months. Hmm.
Or even 7 days at time. You just do a back of the
Hmm.
envelope on a piece of paper, use your calculator. I mean, so, do various things, your own analytical skill, decision making skill, but do some analysis, and then combination of analysis and instinct. But if you just say that, oh, my gut feeling or my instinct, I mean, the chances of failure would be more. And what finance function has taught me is risk mitigation. So risk
Okay.
mitigation comes only by analysis. So
Okay. Right. So,
startup also, I'll ask, strongly urge all the founder, and I already do that. Okay, to do analysis, you may have just 1 hour at times to do it. You have to take a decision in the next couple of hours. You have an important customer meeting. तो वो 2 घंटे में analysis तो करो.
hmm.
You will be much better prepared for your meeting with the customer rather than just going and showing up and say, okay, I'll take a decision by instinct.
Instinct will not work. One leadership myth that startup completely break.
Leadership myth is, ये कहीं पे मैंने, this is a bit tricky. Uh, okay, so leadership is trained, and you learn the processes, you learn the technicalities, like in finance, the DCF and all. So that leadership myth is that you undergo that MBA course, the trainings and all. So startup, of course, completely breaks that. That because I mean I mean those things don't matter in a startup world. Those
Right.
kind of leadership training or management training, so to say.
One last question. One sentence advice to the corporate leaders thinking to moving and starting the startup.
I would say stick to your kind of a path, which is the corporate ladder, and
Okay.
only when you have that strong urge from within,
Mhm.
do because you have identified a problem, you identified a solution, and maybe you have a little bit of funding also. That risk taking ability means you have at least a 50 lakh of or a 1 crore of your own funding. Don't think of right now any other own funding hona chahiye. I'm not saying you put entire 50 lakh in the beginning. Maybe you put initially 10 lakh, get 30 from outside, but वो 40 का एक war chest सा तो होना चाहिए ना. But if you just think that, okay, I'll get funds, there's so many VCs backing up, I have my maybe 5 lakhs, और वो भी, मतलब उसको मैं थोड़ा सा साइड में ही रखता हूँ. So, if you don't have that kind of a risk taking appetite or funding appetite, so my advice would be that you stick to your ladder. And anyway, the climbing, because maybe I didn't actually sidestepped or climbed down the ladder, so to say. I don't think unless there is some other factors, one should not really sidestep or climb down the ladder. As I said, unless मतलब आपका कोई godfather है, in which case it's a totally different story. Godfather means somebody who can fund you 10 crores.
Uh-huh.
कि हाँ भी मतलब चलो ठीक है, आजा आजा, and we kind of I'll provide you 10 crores, and यदि वो बंद भी हो जाएगा तो कोई चिंता नहीं है, because I have another 10
बाप
crores.
का बिजनेस है. आई एम देयर
हाँ,
बिहाइंड यू,
I'm
डोंट
there,
वरी.
there with you. Which is where I'm saying, which is a very, very fictional case, because otherwise you won't be in the corporate ladder. So, so given everything, I mean, just don't go by the lure of those crows and the illusions of a unicorn or semicorn. Or unicorn is a faraway thing, but there's this people think semicorn, at least 100 crores का तो valuation कर लेंगे. 100 crores में suppose 20-25% का stake तक रह पाता है हमारे पास. So we made a cool 20-25 crores, which in corporates will make maybe entire lifetime to have that kind of saving around us. So don't be under those kind of illusions.
To burn your bridges if you want to come to a startup. No going back, or if you want to go back, to be at your corporate life. That is what it is,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
sir?
yeah. I mean, you are taking. I mean, you are like this that famous Napoleon army, where Napoleon said, that all the ships and boats and all that come, he had kind of burnt them, because then there's
Mhm.
no going back. So
Correct.
you imagine that you have burnt it, and now you are on your own. So, and that will come only if you have a very, very strong and a very deep sense of a deep passion into what you are doing.
Correct. So the rapid fire round is over, sir. But just two more question I would like to ask you, sir, because it is something which is coming in right for me. It is like, suppose now, how would you like yourself to be remembered since you have done 40 years of work, 3 years of internship, 43, and how would you like yourself to be remembered by your people who are working with you and for whom you have become a mentor?
So one would be a people's person with a
Mm-hmm.
compassion for people, empathy for people, and at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, because that should not lure the viewers into thinking that I'm a very kind of a soft person, that to be remembered as a very tough person, from a corporate governance perspective. So as a
Correct.
CFO of a large a company or a large Indian group, and also before that with multinationals like General Motors and Shell and all. So I mean, I was considered even by my CEOs quite a tough nut to crack. So they would listen to me as much as I would listen to them, and I used to take pride in that. So that's another part of the story which I'll tell someday,
Next.
which
Yes, sir.
we have not dwelled today, because today was more like startup people and all that. I mean, I kind of ruled over the CEO rather than the CEO ruling over me. That was the
Mm-hmm.
tougher, that tough nut part of me.
Acha, sir. Before we end, sir, what message would you like to give to the leaders who are silently standing at the edge of change? Leaders,
Edge of change means change from corporate to startup.
corporate to startup. As you have said
Yeah.
before, like it has to be like we have to burn your bridges. But any other
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
which you would like to say, sir?
No, I said, please don't stand on the edge, you'll fall. So, so either be fully engrossed in your corporate life and
Hmm.
deliver, and so that you get your promotions and bonuses and do very well. Or if you think that, okay, that is now over for you, and you have now really got a strong business case for a startup kind of startup business model, then take the plunge. I mean, of course, with all the basic ingredients, as I said, that you should have a very strong business case. You should have at least a mentor. Mentor is very important.
Very
So I mean,
important.
it's not that I'm selling myself, but a mentor is a must. In
Correct,
fact,
correct.
uh, and then the third is your own war chest, in terms of a minimum kind of a this thing which you are able to burn and forget about it. So आज
Correct.
के दिन जैसे you can say, I mean, this is the amount I'm willing to burn, and no
Forget
hard
it.
feelings, I mean, if this is gone, because I'm chasing my passion. I mean,
Hmm.
you shouldn't say that, I mean, that is there, but फिर बोले मेरे को तो funding नहीं मिला, नहीं मिलेगा unless they see what is your skin in the game. And that's where, at times, just because the poor guy, he has somehow jumped, without thinking of his own chest, and is struggling, but the business idea is good, and we feel that it's really going to go the distance. But the VC wants his own skin, so we put our own skin. But you will always not get these kind of things coming from
Correct.
mentors, so better have your own chest rather than assuming that the mentor. And again, I'm repeating, I'm not going to kind of fund every startup.
That's for sure, sir. Mr. Bharat, it was such a pleasure discussing you about your journey from time you started till now. And I'm sure everybody who will be watching this particular heart to heart chat show of ours will surely understand how corporate ladders are, how burning of bridges are, how you have to see things the way it has to be. You have to think about it. You cannot be seeing a rosy picture and working across. There are many thorns attached to it, but you take care of the thorns first, then think about a rose. That is what I can say.
Yeah, and or worst, you can say simultaneously. You cannot just look at, okay, I'll plug the rose. Somehow I have
Hmm.
got that skill. I've been in corporate. I've done that. So I'll just plug this rose and save myself from the thorns. That's not going to happen. The thorns are
Right,
going to
sir.
come together with the rose. So be prepared for that. And
Yes.
जैसे जैसे बोलते हैं ना, अपने आप को पूरा झोंक देना, झोंक देने के लिए तैयार हो. इट्स अ हिंदी वर्ड,
पूरा
बट एट टाइम्स दिस हिंदी वर्ड इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो झोंक
इमोशन
देने
आता
के लिए, हाँ,
है.
तो झोंक देने के लिए तैयार हो तो घुसो. यदि झोंक देने के लिए नहीं तैयार हो तो वो लैडर पे चलते रहो.
हाँ,
And always remember the tortoise and the story that
well,
tortoise wins. So even if you are tortoise, you are climbing the ladder slowly but surely. You will reach the end of the ladder wherever it takes you. So don't
correct,
bother
sir.
about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bharat. It was such a pleasure meeting you. And this was basically a conversation where your consciousness was basically taking care of things, how we have to work across. And I'm sure in next Heart to Heart show, we will be again together someday. And we look forward to meet you again, sir. It
Yeah,
was a
and I
pleasure.
hope I will next one. I know will be a totally different role play. Where I'll come across as a very tough nut and give a very hard time, just like I used to give a hard time to my
I
CEOs.
see. Yes. Would love to see the second side of the coin also, sir. It was pleasure discussing with you, sir.
Yeah, and thank
And
you so
I
much, Dr. Saxena. It was really a pleasure on my side also, and you made the conversation so light and so heartening that I almost got carried away. That's why we, instead of 60 minutes, we are into 80 minutes, and your
no worries,
beaming
sir.
smile and your this thing, it never appeared like a chat show. It was like almost like we are doing some gossip
Discuss. That
about
is
my
what
working
basically,
life.
this is what we are basically heart to heart is all about, where we do not make it as a chat show. Okay, we have given the name, but where a person talks heart to heart and things will develop that way, sir. It was pleasure meeting you, sir. And on behalf of Zena family, I thank you again and all the viewers. And surely we will be meeting you again, sir.